trying to deal with this question, and this question, you know, both as the initial reaction and further reactions, this thing has been said and in different ways. Or maybe before I deal with that question, there is the question of relying and rehashing the public protector and the SIU report. There's, in the reviewal of literature, for an example, there's no way you're going to look at other documents and not look at what the public protector said and not look at what the SIU said and so on. So in the initial stages, when I released the report and I presented it before you on the 22nd of July, I clearly indicated what method one had to follow, for an example, in terms of the literature review, but also in terms of the need to engage with various sort of, you know, professionals and experts in different fields to try and establish what is contained, for an example, amongst other things, in the source documents, because that is very important. And particularly, it's important because we're not, for me, I was not starting with the process from the beginning. It's what I found there. So all I needed to try and establish what kind of authority and all authorities was relied upon to arrive at certain conclusions and construct particular features, for an example. And of course, given the construction of such features, how are they defined within the context of security and non-security thereof? Now, so that's generally the approach. Now, so I wouldn't agree, for instance, with your view that there's rehashing and so on. We have referred to these documents as part of the whole myriad of other documents that one had to review in the conduct of this work. But then you have this thing that gets repeated and said, which is very unfortunate. And I responded to this issue on the 22nd of July. Oh, your job relies on the president, whatever. I responded to that issue. But in my response, regardless of trying to point out that there are so many other appointments that the president makes, but that in our conduct as South Africans and the work that we do on day-to-day basis, we can only rely on one thing and one thing alone, is what we said as the majority of South Africans in this country in terms of our own constitutional outlook, the principles that have got to govern that. When you deal with issues of governance, I see the applicable principles, for an example. That's the important thing. Because if I were to see you, regardless of whether or whatever, or the judge or something like that, that's what we should always see, for an example. Because if you begin to see individuals, you are then essentially going to compromise the fundamental principles of what this society should be and ideally should be, and so on. So you'll then be watering the whole thing down insofar as I'm concerned. And that's why I spoke